That's not good.
We're live, boys. How we doing?
Hello.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Hi.
Happy New
We've
Year.
made it. 2025. Another year older. Another trip around the sun. Here we are.
Somehow.
Somehow, some way, we made it.
We made it.
With a grand new audience.
Yep.
New people listening.
Brand new audience.
New things to talk about.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
My friends.
Oh, man, you must have a lot.
We need to talk. We need to
Or
name
based on our viewership.
We have to name
none
our
at all.
community. What didn't we name our community once?
Oh, I don't know. Did we?
I think it
The
was like
ratios.
yeah. we
Ratios.
it was a total meme.
I
Whatever
think
we
that's
came up with.
that's brain rot speak.
Yeah. Get ratioed.
Get ratioed.
Brain rot speak, huh?
We just watched a video on it. They said ratio a lot. So
No cap bussin' for real. Skibbity.
Oh god.
Rizzler.
Skibbity toilet. Yeah.
Skibby.
So our
Do you know what
ratios-
getting ratioed means?
I imagine it means the same thing
Defeated?
as like getting bodied. Like,
Well, no, what it actually means. Like, oh, he got ratioed. Like the original definition.
oh, not like the brain rot
No.
version of it. What?
Well,
I don't know the
I
original.
don't know what brain. I don't know what. I've never heard of that. I mean, I have heard of that term, but
I don't know. Don't really know much about it, to be honest. But
You keep just throwing it in there, and I'm like, I don't know how to. What
That's-
angle is that coming from?
that's Gen Z talk. They call
Oh,
it brain rot when people
okay.
talk
Yeah.
like that. Riz.
Oh yeah, Riz.
know,
Okay. So
that
it's along
kind
that
of
vein.
shit, yeah.
Okay.
Skibbity.
So the idea behind ratioed is you have more comments than you do likes.
Well, that's just a ratio.
Well, no, the idea. No. So the
The
idea is
ratio comment to like.
well, no. So the concept behind it is if you have more comments than you have likes, then what
You
you
got
said
ratioed.
what you said was controversial. Like,
Oh,
do you see what I'm saying? Like,
So
more
that's still
people
a
were
slang.
talking,
That's not
like,
literally the
coming back at you.
definition of a ratio. That's still just a slang.
It's an older slang.
Oh,
Yeah, it's an older
You
slang.
thought I was going to be like in
I thought-
mathematics.
I thought you were.
I thought you were gonna like
When you get ratioed, it's
knowing
actually,
you. I thought you were gonna
Why
give us.
would I explain like the most basic concept
That's
of
what-
a ratio?
You know, it's not the first time you thought we were just dumb as fuck. So
What the fuck? That would be the stupidest thing. All right,
was
guys.
like-
So if you don't know, a ratio.
I was waiting for you to say that, and then I was gonna say
What?
some smart ass thing. Was like, wow, thanks for elaborating.
No, it's a Twitter thing originally. Twitter is where you get more comments than you do likes, and that means you got ratioed, and then that's evolved to be like a slang thing. Like, yeah, basically like you're speaking on the edge.
You're getting ratioed.
KD
Yes,
ratio.
that's fucking
KD
hilarious.
ratioed.
Wow, I actually have like
Yeah.
tears.
I was on the
coming
same
guys
book as
thought
Kyle. I was
I
like,
I was like, is this happening right
yeah,
now?
the
Is this
original
actually
definition
happening?
of ratio? Sure, go, Billy.
All right, and the year 5.
So you have 4 apples. If you take one away,
Oh
you have-
my god!
I was waiting those.
Okay, so let's talk about CES. Let's get into NVIDIA. Let's get into some AMD announcements because there's been like just a bunch of news in the tech industry this week. It's one of my favorite weeks. I love that they do it at the very beginning of every calendar year. CES kicks off down in Vegas, and it's awesome that they do it every single year because I think it's a great way to introduce the year for like what's coming up in tech. And a lot of times, there's never like a single device that you go, oh boy, I can't wait to buy that this year. Even like Samsung and some of these other providers, they still host their own like Samsung Unpacked event, which is going to happen later.
Yeah.
I think in January and stuff like that. So you don't really hear a lot of like what's actually going to be happening or any like big news release that like blows your mind or whatever. But we do get like this year in particular is a hardware release year. So like generally I feel like CPUs and GPUs are sort of on like a 2 and 3 year release cycle, and so this is a big year in hardware. So I want to talk about AMD. They just had their release. They just came out with their new like Ryzen 9 9950X platform. They didn't announce really any. They didn't really announce any pricing around that stuff. But they did kind of announce some of the performance indicators, and it looks like a very standard generational gap. It doesn't look like it'll blow your mind or anything like that. But the big announcements came from NVIDIA, which was yesterday, their mega keynote speech. And they basically came out with their their RTX 5000 card series, and they announced their 5090, which I think it had been. I think the 4090 came out 2.5 years ago now. I think we're about 2.5 years ago. I think this was one of their shorter cycles between generations.
I feel like it just barely came out.
Yeah, it well, especially since like when you consider inventory issues, because just
people couldn't even buy it for like the first year.
it's still like finicky in terms of stock. So I think a lot of that's being manipulated by the market because scalpers will clear out the inventories and then relist them for $200 more and just make money doing nothing. But yeah, the 5000 series is out.
Disgusting.
And I want to talk about it not from like a spec or a news. Like I'm not going to sit here and just tout that shit. You guys can look at other sources for that. But what I want to talk about is like the
More
implications
qualified
of
sources.
Yeah, way more qualified, way more cool visuals. We're not going to be able to compete in any way there. But I do want to talk about the implications of what this new lineup means. And I think where graphic cards are sort of trending towards in the future, because we've talked about this before, and I don't think I fully realized how good this stuff was going to get as fast as it has. So with the new 5000 series GPUs, they're coming out with their DLSS 4, which do you guys have like, do you as console gamers, do you have like settings where you can turn this on or off? Like is DLSS or frame generation?
I know Sony
they're going to have their own thing, but like is DLSS at all? I know DLSS is specific to NVIDIA, but like I know AMD has their FSR. Does Sony have a version of this built into PlayStation? Can you turn it up and down for what your preference is, or is it just set by game?
It's set by. I've never seen the option to turn it up and down. Maybe I haven't just found the setting.
If there is an option, it's not like advertised. It's not like console gaming is so like just kind of
plug
is
and
what
play.
it is.
Okay.
You know, like your average console gamer is not even gonna pay
There's like
attention
not a
to any of
settings.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
When there's an HDR setting, that's like freaks console
a big
gamers
thing.
out. They're like, what?
it's too many options. I don't like it. I don't like it. So I guess I think at some level, I bet you PlayStation does it, and they just don't even tell you guys that they're doing some.
Well, they have
level of
like a
AI
proprietary
upscaling.
name for it. I've seen it, like I've read it before, but I think it's just included.
I think we might even have done an episode on it where
I
they're
think
doing
we talked
their,
about it when we were talking about the PS5 Pro launch.
Yeah.
We talked briefly about the specs. I think we brought that up at one point. But
Well, the only reason why I'm inquiring about this because I think this is the future way the graphics industry is going to be trending towards, and I think NVIDIA is at the front of it. FSR has respect, but I think DLSS is where it's at right now and what they were showcasing. None of the numbers and none of like the actual tech specific specs have come out, so take everything with a grain of salt with what they showcased. But this is what they were sort of talking about.
I have the name of it.
Oh yeah, what is
It's
it? Like DD
Sony's
something?
PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution.
I remember I said it like super geeky. that once.
Spectral
Yeah,
Super Illusion.
Yes. Because I was like, I feel like we've talked about. So I bet you they're doing that, and they're just not even touting it. Like
Long story
advertising.
short, they don't give hardly any control to the consumer though.
So it's just it's turned on. Well, on PC you have options. So like we'll use Cyberpunk as the benchmark because that's what they were doing on a lot of their demos
Everybody
and on
uses
their
that as
Yeah.
the benchmark.
Dude, it's the new crisis. It really is. So like let's take Cyberpunk full ray tracing on a 4090 at 4K. Okay, so you're talking as cranked, maxed out as a game can get. Ultra 4K with ray tracing, full ray tracing turned on. Like the 4090, I think it's like 19 FPS. Yeah. So it just tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with DLSS 4 put on, they did a demo, and they're able to get 260 FPS.
That is
Wow.
mind-boggling.
Yes.
Same settings, right?
The improvement.
4K Ultra DLSS 4 on.
And
So-
ray tracing.
And ray tracing full on, yes. So now that's like if the 4090 was cranked, they only have access to DLSS 3.5. They're able to get like 120. So you're seeing like more than 2x performance increase.
Yeah.
But it's not real performance. So I kind of want to get into that.
AI.
But it's not real performance, but it's really fucking good. It's actually crazy. So Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, was on there talking about it. They did this full demo, and it wasn't NVIDIA or it wasn't Cyberpunk. I mean, it was like some, I don't know what, maybe it's like their own demo or whatever. But they were only rendering of the 33 million pixels on a 4K display. They only were rendering 2 million of those pixels. So they're able to algorithmically predict what the other pixels are. Wow. So I don't like they figure out what one pixel is, and based on the relationship of the pixels around it, they can kind of fill in the gaps. And they've gotten really good. They train these models. And I thought when watching it, I'm like, oh, every game sort of has to train their own model based on because maybe they do lighting a little different. No, it's way better than that. Because I thought oh, great, this is like something that only AAA studios are going to have access to. They actually, their model is built in Unreal Engine 5 and also Unity. Yeah. So two of the largest engines. Yeah. So this is what my point is we're going to aggregate even further to more and more or to less and less engines because features like this. I would assume integrating a DLSS type or FSR model into a game engine is pretty difficult. But then if you make your game in that engine, then you have those features already there. Because the model is already built to sort of handle the physics that that model is or that engine is designed to handle. So that's really cool. So if you're making a game and you're already using Unreal Engine 5, which so many of the next gen games are coming out are going to be using, you're going to have access to this model, and you're not going to really have to do any unique data training to get this turned on. And so I guess the point is, I think raw power, this GPU is probably a pretty standard generational leap, but in terms of that DLSS 4 capability, this new model and the hardware that runs specifically the AI, because right when you think about actual chip architecture, they're designed to handle different workloads. Your CPU is as generalized as it gets. It's not really good at any one thing. It's great at a lot of things. That's the idea of a central processing unit. A GPU is really good at handling graphics. Well, they have all these AI chips built onto these graphics cards now that are really good at just handling AI models and data processing. And so what DLSS 4 does, which is kind of crazy that we're already here, because I feel like I was talking about this 2 years ago as being a crazy future state. But instead of just on a single frame, you render I think maybe a year ago, I was following this Twitter thread that kind of enlightened me. A year ago, you would generate 90% of the pixels, and then you'd fill in 10% of the gap. And you do that for every frame. Now it's totally flipped. Now we're rendering 10% of the frame by frame, and then generating 90% of what's on the screen. And not only can you do that, but then they can generate entirely artificial frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say your GPU is capable of handling, 60 FPS. It generates a game at 60 FPS. Well, you turn this on, let's say it jumps to 240. It's just automatically generating 4 additional frames for every one real frame that you're actually computing. So which it's not real, and there's a YouTuber, Linus Tech Tips, that I follow really closely, and there are some really niche artifacting going on. If you stare at a really bright, he was in the downtown district of Cyberpunk, and he was staring at a really bright light, and he was strafing and rotating his camera at the same time, and you could see some ghosting effect of some of the artifacts on screen. So there would be a drift.
Let's be real here.
If you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to see.
Minor, a gamer is not going to pay attention. They're not going to go up to that random spot and be like,
yeah,
interesting. I paid $2,500 for this.
Right. And I think we've talked about this exact thing because the idea of going from oh, this game's really pretty, but I'm getting 19 FPS, to DLSS 4 comes on, and all of a sudden you can render 260 frames. The experience that you have in getting those extra frames is so much more immersive and so much better that you're willing to sacrifice on those really, really nuanced things.
Yeah.
Like I really can't wait for the review embargo to lift and some of these YouTubers to get their hands on this copy, because I saw where DLSS 3.5 was, and it was already like, I use it now on my games. It's a huge boost in productivity.
I also feel like
my numbers go way up.
This adds a certain amount of longevity to gaming hardware that wasn't really there before. It was like that was one of the hurdles that some people are like when they get into PC gaming is this tech is going to be outdated in, X amount of years, short amount of time. But this makes it to where what you have can theoretically last a long time. Like you can buy this and get like a good 10 years out of it, I feel like, before.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I feel like because I've read where they've made updates to their model, and then people will go back and update some of their older games, and all of a sudden they're getting a few more frames. Like that does not happen in hardware.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No,
like
yeah.
your ability to process gets better over time. Like I feel like we can see those types of gains. Now they might be smaller than like an actual generation to generation uplift, but still like that's sort of never really happened. And it can, like you said, really prolong the longevity of some of these graphics cards.
Which
All
is
of a sudden,
it makes it a little
10
more
years, wow.
easy to
Spend the money.
spend that kind of money on it. It's still not like cheap, but like, whereas before you're like, I'm spending all this money and then, for what, a couple years and then you got to keep going. So that's appealing, I think, to maybe even the more casual audience.
Yeah, and so they've got their 5090, which is their big mega card, which good luck getting your hands on one of those at launch. And it's $2,000. But their 5070, which I would say like a 5060, which they didn't announce yet, I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't. Would be your entry level into like a solid graphics card.
Yeah.
But if you're a gaming enthusiast, I think the 70 level is really where you should target your investment. And the 5070, which is $549, apparently, again, take everything with a grain of salt. They said on stage gets the same number of performance, produces the same level of performance as a 4090. And that card was $1,500.
Top of the line.
Yeah.
Not even that long ago.
So it's like $550 gets you basically where we are today with the people who've spent $1,500. So you could build an insane rig. And I honestly am really excited where this is going because...
Well, even the more casual, but I don't even know if casual is fair, but like I can see that type of thing in a lot of pre-builds, easy to like a pre-built PC.
Yeah.
I can see that easily being a part of it and spending $1,500
on a pre-built.
Yeah. And still having that level of
a $1,500 PC you could get a 5070, which, like I said, they're touting now. Again, take it with a grain of salt. It has 4090 level performance. You get a hell of a CPU and all the peripherals in a pretty decent looking case, easily for $1,500.
Yeah.
You could have a badass rig these days. So I'm really excited, and I honestly think what gets me so excited about seeing some of these, because some of the like the 5080 I think is $200 cheaper than the 4080 was at launch. So we saw some prices roll back, and I think a lot of that has to do with Intel. Intel just came out for the first time ever. Well, yeah, in a meaningful way. And the first time ever came out with their GPU series, Intel Arc. And they're a little quirky, and I think they still are sort of working through their quirks. It's not there's a whole backstory there I won't bore people with, but they're very cost competitive. And so now you've got AMD who has their graphics lineup. You've got NVIDIA that has their graphics lineup, and now Intel Arc is getting into the game. And so now you've got like 3 competitors. It's not just 2 anymore. And for really, like, NVIDIA has kind of dominated the graphics space over the last couple of years over AMD. So now you're starting to see a little bit more competition. We're seeing those prices come back down a little bit. It's exciting. I'm kind of juiced for this next wave of tech. Now I'm not going to be able to get my hands on it, and I certainly don't think I'm going to be upgrading my rig yet. But the fact that we're finally high refresh rate 4K gaming is now for the first time actually achievable. Like gaming at 4K at least 120 FPS is achievable, and with the Cyberpunk demo getting it 260 on the 5090, boys, that's kind of crazy. Like Cyberpunk, full ray tracing, like one of the prettiest games ever made. That's exciting, man. That's really exciting. I mean, when you're thinking just a few years ago, we're getting like 80 FPS, at best.
Yeah.
Enough to convince me to maybe be a
Play
PC
through it
gamer.
again.
Oh, it takes less convincing for me to play through that again, but that would be enough to convince me to get like a
PC.
Yeah, PC.
Have you guys been following any of the CES stuff or watching any of the keynotes? Or
Just like the surface level, announcements here and there. Yeah, not as religiously as you, but
I love watching all the keynotes because, like with NVIDIA, the CEO comes out and actually like talks. Jensen, I think he was voted like the greatest CEO, of last year.
I read that like a good portion of people who work at
NVIDIA are millionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw some stats, like 1 in 2 people that work at NVIDIA
let's submit our resumes.
Yeah.
They'll take us.
1 in 2 people that work at NVIDIA are worth at least 25 million. So
That is
the retention rate of
crazy,
employees
actually.
and then 1 in like 72% of all employees are worth over $1 million. So
I mean that is such a unheard
great
of
number. Yeah.
ratio.
They're super effective, and they've kind of like, I think their biggest thing is their stock price has just gone to the moon, and they're probably like the reason why AI is as much of a buzzword as it is, because Jensen uses it all the time, and their fundamental business is AI. So they say that all the time, and their stock performance shoots to the moon. And now every company goes, I'll start saying we do AI. And
We have AI at McDonald's.
AI is literally
using AI.
There's an AI department in every company now.
Dude,
insane.
it's crazy.
And then there's people that are starting companies, and I'm always like, okay, this person's full of shit when their company mission is like using AI technologies, and it's for like a completely irrelevant thing. Like, we can predict algorithms on how the purchaser of product, and we can tailor products and services. And I'm like, okay, calm down. Like,
dude, yeah, I know, and I feel like a lot of it is kind of bullshit. But
I think there are a lot of really good applications of AI. And there's a lot of poor applications of AI as well.
Yeah.
And it's
the term AI is so broad that
Yeah,
it
and
can
now-
be meaningless. It's like anything that makes a decision is AI.
Yeah, like I think people are also too loose with the term AI. Like, you developed an algorithm, that is not an AI. Like, like what is AI and what isn't?
Well, it's so much that they changed. AI took over and they changed the word for like actual artificial intelligence to something else now, right?
AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
That's the term for like the brain.
Yeah, like
Right.
actual.
Yeah. And then AI has been co-opted into
Like
meaning
Siri?
almost nothing.
Like, Siri is not AI.
No.
Like,
Yeah. I know it's basically just running flows. And like the Samsung one, they keep trying to bring Bixby into the forefront, and they were just constantly they fall back. Samsung's kind of a goofy company. They make great screens, and they have really great products, but Bixby, they keep going back to Bixby. And their whole demo on their AI was like, wake up. It was basically a morning routine, which existed in 2014.
Yeah.
It was like, wake up and talk to Bixby, and your blinds can activate, and it'll help you sleep better because the blinds will stay closed, and it'll adjust your...
like Alexa's
and
been
it's
doing
like,
that for over 10 years.
Yeah, and then
I'm like, these are just routines, man. Like, this isn't cool.
you really want to sell me on AI? That video still blows my mind of the little kid with the homework. The open AI put out. That sells me.
Okay, so you ready for the next? So this is the next thing that I want to talk about with NVIDIA. So
Okay.
this is one of the coolest things that I had ever seen.
It can do my homework
with
for me.
AI. It can. No, what it does is the example they use, which I work at a company that does manufacturing, and so this is like a huge warehousing is a massive problem, and it can definitely be automated a lot further than what it is now, even though it already has a lot of automations. But one of the things that they do, that they built, is they can use like visual, so they can use training data. So they set up like cameras and stuff like that and study the patterns of your warehouse. So they can like visually map out the setup of your business. So like they can model your warehousing processes and procedures based on all these different data points, like visually watching people, where they walk, where they go, where they drive, forklifts, all this stuff, and map that out. And then translate that to a virtual environment and build this virtual model out. And here's what's the craziest concept, like I didn't even realize could happen. But now they're having like these AI robots. So like if you need to take a box and move it from here to here is kind of like the example that they were showing. Like a physical robot, not like a forklift or anything, like an actual robot with hands. You can then train and simulate that robot in the virtual world. So you can
and then transfer its.
And then once, so now you don't need
like
the physical
Matrix.
robots.
It's literally like
took
we-
our jobs.
It's
Where you
the
upload-
opposite of the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like we're subjecting the robots into the Matrix, right?
to teach them.
Yes.
And then pull 'em
so
out.
now you don't have to own like a physical robot and have it wear down and give it a space to operate in and have it break and watch it train. It can train in this virtual world to a place where it's like, oh, that's acceptable. Now we can invest in it and actually transplant it into our warehouse because it's trained on
You know what
our
that
data.
reminds me of?
It's crazy.
You're gonna hate that I'm about to do this.
Toy Story.
But in Mass Effect.
Oh, yes.
So,
hit me.
When Edie first takes over the robot body, she comes up to you and she was like, "I'm sorry I didn't get you involved. It would have slowed things down had you have tried to intervene or whatever." And then he was like, "Is it safe?" And she goes, "Well, I could run tests." And he's like, "Run them." And she ran like 1,000 different tests. And she's like, "Simulation complete. Would you like a report on the findings?" And then you could say like yes or no or whatever. And it's just like a small little one-off, but that's exactly
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So they're able to build this virtual model and then do the training in that virtual world, and you're not having to like expose anything physically, any of the risks involved with
It's
having,
Doctor Strange.
It's crazy. and here's the thing, like it's starting to get to the point because if you can build a robot that has 10 fingers and 10 toes, something that actually looks and moves like a human being.
Why stop there?
Well, that's like
make
the
it
whole,
better.
because our whole world is built around humans, right? How humans can interact. Like everything is built. What are you talking about?
Human octopi.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying. I was making a joke on why limit ourselves to 5, 10 fingers, 10 toes. Why, like if it's a robot,
that would be the next iteration.
it
but
can be better than us.
yes, but right now we have to get it to be us, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole natural world is built around our own modalities, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't build things, we do, but like highly specialized things for robots. But like everything in the world interactively is built for the human hands and stuff like that. So the crazy thing is if you can simulate and train these things, it's like it's not going to be like, oh, the robots now can make you a cup of coffee. It's like the moment it can make you a cup of coffee is the same moment it can do all your laundry and everything else.
And it learned it all within a few minutes.
Yeah,
Seconds.
It's like once you get there, training it because of how these models work is just a matter of data, and we have a shitload of data. Like that's the crazy thing. So I don't know. I like it's starting to become palatable.
Take this with a grain of salt because
Hit me.
obviously
I like salt.
he wants people to be excited or have discussions around.
You're talking about Jensen?
AI. But I'm talking about the OpenAI CEO.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that tweet where he said he finally has a have you heard people say like you can't tell a story in 6 words or whatever? It's like a kind of a saying.
I don't think I've ever heard that. Have you heard that?
Well, they say like if you can convey a point or tell a story in 6 words, it must be very powerful. But anyways, he tweeted
That makes sense.
or he put on X. He said, I've always wanted to tell a 6-word story. Here it is. We're near the singularity, unsure which side. And then he had a follow-up saying that they now have proof that their AI is self-learning beyond a point where they can't keep up with it.
Fuck.
Jesus.
Yeah. So their AI is officially, we're not able to keep up with its
Oh
self-learning.
no.
We don't know how far it's gone.
Skynet. No kidding.
Oh
no.
So obviously there's there's some ulterior to posting that. Obviously you want to get the conversation around,
Well, I wonder if
it's still fascinating.
That's amazing.
And like all the stuff with ChatGPT, like that already exists. That to me, as far as I'm concerned, is maybe the models could get better and it could drive better information and stuff. But
and the
as far as I'm
singularity,
concerned, it's fucking great.
The singularity for people that don't know what we're
terms.
saying, it's basically just at what point does
Sentient
things become uncontrollable on like it develops itself, basically.
Yeah.
That's like the singularity, but Skynet.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, yes. I mean, singularity also, like, is the origin of the term from stars? Is that where it started? Because that's how I know it. It was like, it's when it becomes self-sustaining.
Self-sustaining is a better way to put it, but
Yeah.
what is the
I
origin?
wonder if how these, because I kind of have a loose understanding of how these models learn and work.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder if these models will become like they'll find they'll link too many things together that actually don't work, right? Like their models will start
Overcorrect.
Yeah, right. Like they'll start grasping almost at straws and be like, oh, this is kind of loosely, and it actually starts to regress in terms of its effectiveness.
And I mean, you have to picture too. I don't know. I mean, this is way out there, but the AI models, I don't think they can comprehend like emotions and feelings and stuff like that. So I could see them running into also kind of how you were saying, where they connect things that aren't connected, like rituals. Like they don't make sense. Like we bury people and there's, it wouldn't be able to understand why we do that. It would just think logically, very logically.
It looks like singularity in that context was popularized by I'm gonna say his name, Werner Ving. He most famous as a science fiction author.
Oh, okay.
But basically it's like when technology is self-sustaining and uncontrollable by humans. So some people have critiqued it as kind of a fear-mongering term, but I think we're kind of right on the precipice of that. I mean, AI is advancing in such a like 4 years ago on this podcast when we first started talking about it, it was so basic. Like, remember the images we used to generate?
Yeah.
On some of the like the original like Gen
Dolly.
1
Yeah,
I was gonna say that. I couldn't remember the name.
Like
Dolly.
they were we were like, whoa, great, and it
Hodgepodge.
looks so shitty.
Those kids.
Like, it's crazy how quickly the AI has evolved.
I know
And
now.
half of it, maybe not half, a good portion of its like evolution, it did itself. Humans haven't even we're almost at a point where we're just kind of guiding it.
Me and Kyle, before the podcast, we watched a little bit of this video on YouTube that was telling the story of Lady Maria from Bloodborne. All the visuals were AI. I'm pretty sure the voice was AI.
It had to have been, yeah.
And it looked amazing. Like, it looked...
Like someone made a whole short film on Bloodborne using AI technology.
I believe it.
And like, it is a little scary, but it's like it's happening whether we like it or not. So you got to figure out the best way to use it. And maybe NVIDIA is the
gaming.
Ground zero.
ground zero.
No, they showed it like AI in game development, and they were just creating environments like this. Yeah. It's like, give me a town square, boom, add a fountain there. Oh, change it to winter. No, brighten the scene up. Like, it was just like boom, 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 and it was just happening. It's like, and my God, that's
we
powerful.
talked about it a little bit before with like Planet of the Apes, The Forest, awesome movies. Like, they wanted to plant a forest, so it's done. You no longer have to go and add every single tree.
Yep.
So same thing applies to video games. It's like you said, I want a fountain here. I want this to be a town center. Boom, you got a town center, you got a fountain.
I think it's such a powerful creative tool. I think in a lot of ways things will become homogenized, but that's where I feel like different models that just could be trained on different data if you want a different style.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like just like the same people that complain about everything being Unreal Engine 5 and everyone having every game having that Unreal Engine 5 feel, that Unreal Engine feel. Well, just use if I would imagine that at some point the Unreal Engine could evolve to where it could have different subsectors in it. Still use like the same kind of engine, but have all these different styles and feels, within it, just because of where AI is going. I as far as I'm concerned, in terms of creative works, the sky's the limit. And now, like these models are being brought into the physical world. That was the whole pitch with Jensen and NVIDIA, was this whole virtual world training data, and it's just like, oh my god,
That's crazy. That's wild to think about.
And you could just take all this sensory data and translate that into a model, and then
Place the robot in it.
subject robots to then train on that data and be like, okay, you need to open this box, take this part, combine it with this part, and move down the line. And it's like, okay, and it trains itself to do that. And it's like, okay, now we just need to buy the robot that can do that. That has the motor functions, and then you just subject the model into it.
Didn't previously, like Boston Dynamics, they showed that like they have to train like some of their robots by actually having them, like, it'll walk, fall, and it learns, okay, I fell right here because my foot was here, and then like they have to run the physical simulations of it so that it learns.
Yeah, that's the whole idea
how
of
to
like
balance
it training data. They're not telling it how to walk. We can do that, but it makes it doesn't learn. Like there's nothing that's learned about that, right? Yeah. Like what happens when there's a pebble in the way? Well, then the whole thing fails, and then we have to program all this nuance that, like, okay, identify if there's a pebble, then step here. Like, no, it just trains to balance. Yeah, that's the whole idea.
All of that in cyberspace.
Yeah, right. Now Boston Dynamics doesn't have to build a robot. They could set the parameters and say, do all this stuff.
This is how a robot looks, but let's put it in a real.
That's their idea. Wow. And it'll be interesting to see how well that actually gets adapted to reality. But holy shit, you're talking about a company could be heavily invested in robotics and never actually have purchased a robot. Train up that model, simulate it, put all these certain circumstances in it, get compliance to sign off on it, and then introduce their new fleet of workers and say, here you go. It's crazy.
I sometimes when I'm bored, I just play around with ChatGPT, and I pay for like the 4.0 model or whatever. And I just see like how complex can I,
get it?
Like what can I, so like I uploaded a picture of the Michelangelo's Last Judgment, that like famous photo like on the Sistine Chapel or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, pretend you don't know anything about this painting. Use all the resources you have to give me your expert analysis without tapping into any of your knowledge around the painter Michelangelo. Pretend you're an alien who does not know anything about human art when making an analysis. What would you have to say? And it gave me this huge, like
full breakdown
of all the concepts and everything. And then I said, now do the same thing, but use every amount of knowledge you have around human artwork and Michelangelo, what humans have discussed about this, and be the best expert you could possibly be on this painting.
Were the answers totally different?
The answers were like completely different.
Yeah.
And then I said, compare the two analysis you just gave me. Where were the similarities? Where were the differences? And then tell me what you think would be more effective when explaining to a new art student. And then it gave me like a combined version of like what it thinks its most effective analysis was, like what's
wow,
like, it was crazy. And then I said, so there's the comparison of the two analyses. And then I said, if you had to write a book about this painting, incorporating a lot of the stuff you just talked about, and the book could be about anything you wanted, so long as the painting was the foil that kept it all together, how long do you think you could make the book while keeping all the information fresh and new throughout? And it literally thought about it for like 2 seconds, and it said it can do somewhere between 200 to 250 pages long without rehashing any concepts, but using, and then it gives me a structure, and it tells me how many pages each thing would be. It tells me like what each section would be, 30 to 40 pages on the reception through time, the philosophy and theology, the painting's anatomy, Michelangelo and his world and all that. And then I go, based on everything you just told me, design what your version of The Last Judgment would be to someone that knew nothing about art. They were an alien, blah, blah, blah. And it generates this image. And they said this conveys it more effectively.
What?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But like you take that concept, right, where you have like all this learned language, right? And then you look at a robot like Boston Dynamics, right, that can move around and exist in the physical world. And then you take the training data that could be built by these models so that the robot can be trained to do exactly a certain procedure. I feel like we're there. I feel like these pieces, this is the world we live. Like, we're there. We're in the middle of this.
Well,
this
the
is so
singularity.
crazy. This is so well. I don't. Yeah, I mean the singularity with I don't. What's his name? Sam Altman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a buzzword.
Yeah.
It wants to get people like, whoa, you know.
Yeah.
like-
I have my thoughts on Sam Altman, but I also would be curious to see like what he actually means by that. Like, because like I said, I think it might be that
think
the
he
model
elaborated.
then over corrects and like makes too many connections that don't actually exist, and it might actually become less effective. Because in terms of like large language models, the progress is slowed dramatically just because there's just no more data to like it's already sort of modeled, right? There's nothing. It needs a lot more data to like really improve on, and I mean we're already dumping more data than ever. Like every year, I think every year we create more information than had ever existed before in terms of the internet. So it can only move as fast as its source material is, and it's just not like I think it's kind of already figured out. But so I'd be curious to see maybe if he did elaborate. I'd be curious to see what he says there. But for me, like we have all these pieces in place, and I'm telling you, they better when they roll this out. I mean, just think about this. Let's say they have a robot that I could purchase, right? That's sort of it not only has like all the learned ability. What's that?
I want a TARS.
Yeah, right. Let's say it has not only like the ability it can do your dishes and stuff like that, but you could regularly update it to do new things, right? So think about it. I own a little piece of land, right? I would have this thing go in, make dinners for me. Not only that, but like plan out my dinners for the week to know what it needs. I could literally have it go to the store, buy all my stuff, do all the things. Like that's not out of the realm. I could have it harvest crops and grow and maintain crops in the backyard to then use for those recipes. Like they better have it figured out, because not only are these going to replace a lot of jobs, if not all of them, like the need to work is going to drop dramatically.
We're gonna be
Because
all
like
those
it's going to be
people
growing
in Wall-E.
in Wall-E that have the deformed bones because they never move.
Yeah.
That's literally what's gonna happen.
You're going to literally just be able to do whatever you want, which will be the most depressing thing ever. Because people suck at not having a direction.
Wow,
in
what
life.
that is one of the most quotable things you've ever said. I'm not gonna lie to you. We can literally do whatever we want, which would be one of the most depressing things ever.
Well, look at it now. We have more freedom than ever, and we are dealing with the strongest mental crisis that ever existed.
I'm gonna plug that into ChatGPT. Give me an analysis of that.
Clearly, the author of this has no idea what he's talking about. Empirical data states
This is such a flawed statement.
Daniel says there's a lot of people who like doing things themselves. Yeah, until you don't have to.
Well, and the thing is,
do you
is
ride
this
a
is
horse,
like
or do you walk to work?
multi-generational too.
What?
Like this isn't going to be like robots come out, we give up. No, it's like years upon years of
yeah.
like
Well, I just did the end state of it.
Yeah. So your dad, maybe he liked doing hands-on things. Then slowly you get less and less and less and less until
Like, do you like tilling your yard? Like, or raising chickens for fresh eggs? Like, no, you learn to just buy eggs at the store, right? Like these things evolve, right? Do people like drive? People. I'm sure people when cars came out, they were like, "I like riding my horse." Well, that doesn't really fucking.
it's like the
happen
seatbelt thing.
anymore.
How dare they ask me to wear seatbelts?
And now in a generation, it's like you get in a car, even with young people, like, put your fucking belt on, you moron.
Yeah.
Just like that's the way it is. So like, I just feel like This is the first time that I've really ever felt like that end goal is there. I'm not saying that tomorrow this is going to be figured out. I do think it's still. I don't even know if it's going to happen in my lifetime. If I'm being honest,
Probably not.
But what I'm saying is like we have the robot that can move around and interact with objects in the real world. We have these GPT models that can communicate and like it just wrote a fucking book for you. Like so from a conversational standpoint or an interaction and giving you data, it can do that. That's solved. Right, and then the ability to train on new things that the world brings, that's seemingly being figured out as well. Right. It's like all these things are solved, and it's like, or there's a path to solving them, and it's like, holy shit, this is kind of crazy. So sorry.
So no, you're good. So, I said, I put in quotes, "We can do whatever we want," which would be the most depressing thing ever, and I said, analyze that statement. It says. The statement, "we can do whatever we want," which would be the most depressing thing ever, is paradoxical but deeply profound. It challenges the common assumption that ultimate freedom leads to ultimate happiness. Here's an analysis. There's a chapter on freedom and its burden, the search for meaning, a paradox of choice, freedom without structure can feel empty, how this can be depressing, and then finally why it's profound.
Conclusions.
The profundity of the statement lies in its ability to flip our understanding of freedom on its head. It suggests that happiness isn't found in limitless possibility, but in the meaningful pursuit of something greater than oneself. Freedom alone, without direction, can strip away the very structure that gives life its richness and depth. It prompts us to ask, what gives our freedom meaning?
We need to post it. Save that.
That is incredible.
Chef's kiss. Hey, I'm a poet at heart, I guess.
I knew that's what I felt. I just couldn't say that.
Hell no.
But when you said that, I felt those things.
It translated that out of your brain, but like it spells it out. Yeah, love that. We're gonna be posting that later. That's perfect. No, but like you see what I'm like. I feel like we have the pieces in place,
all the puzzle
and there's
pieces.
a direction we're moving towards that. Boy, like I said, they better have some shit figured out because I'm telling you, if you just imagine, you could have this robot harvest crops on your land so it could feed you, raise animals so it could feed you that way as well, dig a fucking hole in the ground to get you a well for water. Like, you could become completely self-sufficient.
Star Wars.
Doing nothing. You know, you wouldn't have to worry about anything. And like, you'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of eating healthy. I want to eat greasy, shitty food. And it would change the recipes for the next 3 days, you know? Like it could just do all these things. It could build a robot, like if it had the raw materials, like you just Amazon yourself like a basket of raw materials. It could build its 2.0 model. Because it's like replacement. It's like I'm rusting out, or like my parts are like this motor is bad, so like I will build my replacement for you.
I automatically ordered it. I had AI.
It disassembles.
Over Christmas Eve, we had my family at my house, and we wanted to make a crock pot recipe. And there's this really good recipe for this like stew that I saw, but it wasn't a crock pot recipe. And so I plugged it into AI, and I was just like, turn this into a crock pot recipe.
It's so good at that.
And it did it perfectly.
Yeah.
And it tasted delicious.
Dude.
It was incredible.
I do that because we're at high altitude. I will do that if I want to make like a really nice special dinner or something that like is, especially like baking. And I'll be like, take this recipe and adjust it for high altitude. And it just does it.
Yeah.
And it'll throw in all the little tweaks. Like, here's my altitude, fix this recipe. And it's like, oh, and it is fucking better. It especially for baked goods.
So do you think, we're going, into La La Land of like
definitely we're drunk on the Kool-Aid.
We've already left the station. But how do you think the accessibility of these said robots to like the general population will be? Because like I would imagine when they first come out, they're going to be really expensive, obviously, right?
Not really.
No?
Because I think
people could have like little robots.
Consumer level. No, I think
like droids.
Think about the cost efficiency when you remove labor force from it. Like I think it's just gonna like our entire understanding of how to manufacture goods will just be flipped on its head. and the cost efficiencies from it. Like, I don't even think we can fully understand the implications of it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's very clearly, it might not even happen over a generation, but it's going to happen. It's going to trend, and the world will shift underneath our feet. But I don't think it's going to become like a cost. Like, people might have really. You're going to see people with upgrades like, oh, mine's got Prada shoes.
He's got bulletproof armor.
I have the checkered face one, and not, which is like the old upgrade premium subscription pass.
Yeah,
that
I got the
jerks
Twitch
me off
drop
at night. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be weird nuance. No, there we go. We're back. What'd you do, Billy? I lost sound. That
Should be back.
Yeah, we're back now.
Fucked it up,
We're back.
so
We're
you
back.
did.
But yeah, no, I think they'll hit a level of cost efficiency, just because you'll see this in everyday workers. It'll replace like people where the outcome is known. So manufacturing in particular, right? Where you take X and you make it Y, right? That's what if you're a part of any process that does that. You take X, your input is X, your output is Y, and it's guaranteed that you will be replaced. Anything in creative work, I think we're already seeing shit being replaced, but people are finding ways to still, come up with excuses to be employed. The amount of times I know my coworkers are leveraging ChatGPT, it would astound you. Like,
every time I see
a great email,
every time I see anything vaguely like well written, I'm like, I don't know about this.
That's not you.
I don't.
You're too. Your IQ is not that.
I've talked
dumb.
to you in person. I know what you sound like.
So that's sort of the dream state, and I know we kind of got drunk on the Kool-Aid there for a little bit, but I legitimately seeing these kinds of things. It's the first time where I'm like, whoa, that's fucking tangible. Like that's tangible.
It is.
And I could see the robot harvesting, stuff in the backyard to cook dinner for, and planning out these recipes, and just assisting in all things life. And that stuff carries the highest risk because people don't want robots and stuff. So that's going to be adopted to last. But once you start changing the input models for a lot of these like everything that we own is manufactured. Everything that you interact with and touch goes through some manufacturing process. Hell, most of our food is processed these days. It goes through some fucking process. So everything that we interact with is built and made. So if you change that model where it's like, hey, you don't have to have a labor force in the same meaningful way that you
Imagine
do now,
space travel at that
that's
point
going to
too.
be crazy. What do you mean?
Like
Just having a robot in space?
Yeah,
do
it wouldn't have to be a
spacewalks?
man mission.
We already do that now. It's
Yeah.
like all drone stuff.
All drone stuff, but you send a robot who doesn't need input from anything.
And it could be the best engineer ever and not make a single mistake, and then also be the best doctor.
Yeah,
Right? If
and
you
it
need
just
to
goes.
do surgery, right, in the middle of space.
And he doesn't need constant internet
Oxygen.
connection or something. Yeah, he could go outside, fix the ship, come back in.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how and where we go. Processing power is the future. Hardware, like chip manufacturing. I want to see more companies get into the game, but man, it's so fucking crazy. When you look at these chips, they show this like little area, right? Like it's like, I don't know, this big. You see that camera? It's like this big. And they're like, there's 75 billion transistors in that. You're just like, what the fuck? Like, if you wanted to start a company that made chips, like, you're so behind the 8 ball.
Let's do it.
I don't even know. Yeah, fuck off. I don't even. These fabrication plants cost like $100 billion to make. It's unbelievable, but it's like the best thing we do, and it's fundamental in everything. Everything has computer chips these days. It's crazy.
Everything.
So anyway, I'm hyped. It was fun to see all this stuff getting announced at CES, and like I said, it's one of my favorite things at the beginning of every year because it just gets just ushers in the new age, the new year. Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
And
I was just making sure.
all right, I'll stop talking. Have
Yeah.
you heard of the nuclear egg? I have no idea. Is that what they call my head?
No, I haven't.
The nuclear egg? Is that a product or is that a
Sounds
concept?
like we need to look it up.
Let's take a look.
The nuclear egg.
Unveils world's first at-home nuclear reactor.
What?
Yeah. What is this? A micro nuclear reactor that, what does it do? Does it heat you up? What? What? It could power
it's
your
a
home for
joke,
10 years. It's a joke?
Yeah, it says it's a. If you could scroll up to the top.
Oh.
Parody.
The Enron egg.
Oh, the
World's
Enron egg, yeah.
World's first at-home nuclear reactor.
guys-
Baffles the internet.
Are you guys a little too... Do you guys know the story of Enron?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just on the edge of that.
I only know about it from like pop culture, like TV shows and stuff. But
I could see... I don't know if everyone's going to have a fucking nuclear reactor in their own home. I don't know if that might be a little too decentralized. But I could see where home generators of some sort, like solar storage or like just battery tech and stuff like that, become much more of a norm, like standard with a new home, so you don't ever go down, because power is just become ubiquitous with life at this point, like having access to energy, it will be kind of interesting. Oh, Enron. Oh my God, the name of the company is called Enron. They named it Enron Egg. Wow. If this is what it is, like the Enron Egg. Oh my God, that's just a meme and a half trying to collect some money. That's crazy. The Enron Egg.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have harnessed the power
If
of
it
the
sounds
atom.
too good to be true, it's because it is. Yeah, I don't even think the government would allow just like mini nuclear reactors.
Interesting. So the kid bought it for $275
Yeah,
in 2001 or whenever. Interesting.
I believe it. Well, that's where we're at with tech. Now we're into memes and parodies.
Memes and parodies.
I don't know. I feel like at some level you would want that level of decentralization, but I think you could achieve that. I mean, I wouldn't want a nuclear reactor in my neighbors' houses. Like, it would have to be the most
Like
stable.
Fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would much rather see battery tech and solar power way more practical and just, like I said, just almost standard issue with every, like you build a house, you have some sort of battery backup and solar solution built into the house. That's just standard with U.S. building codes. Like it's expected to be delivered. And that way you're just never disconnected from the power because, like I said, power is essential in 2025. It just is. It runs everything. But then it's like, do you really need... I live in a new community, and I'm very blessed to be in a part of, geographically where we don't have typhoons and fucking hurricanes and shit coming through and stuff like that. But we do get like high winds and stuff. But I'll tell you, because they bury power lines, and I work from home, so I know when the power goes out. It goes out so rarely, it's not even funny. And if it's out for more than a minute, it's a big deal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like it like maybe once a year it goes out for a minute. It's like 99.9999999% uptime here at least. So it's just not even a worry really. But it would be nice to have some, and they have like really cool stuff where they have like physical batteries. Have you ever seen these?
Uh-uh.
So what they do is, so the whole problem with like solar generation, right? So obviously you can only do that half the day, right? And you need to be able to draw that power at night. Well, the most expensive part of solar is the storage, right? You need high capacity battery cells that can then also quickly store and then deplete their energy every day and every night. Well, this is like the hardest thing on batteries, right? Storing energy and then depleting energy. Like you're using the whole battery, so they don't last that long. So I don't know. Have you seen physical batteries? Yeah, they're really cool. Like basically, they're like towers that you build, and what you do is you leverage gravity. So as the solar powers are generating power, it powers up this crane that then lifts these blocks on top of each other and builds this tower. And then it stores all this potential energy. And then at night, when the solar panels aren't generating any power, it turns the potential energy into kinetic energy, and then uses gravity to then power, up these generators that then create electricity.
Wow.
It's really cool.
That's cool.
So I'd like to see maybe some implementation of that in the future where it's like I don't have to actually, have a battery in my house I have to replace every 10 years because batteries are kind of shitty materials anyway. So anyway. Well, this was a good episode.
Nosferatu.
Oh, please.
Yes. Now we're going back to 1920.
Oh, please.
I think I rambled for an hour there and it totally didn't give you a chance to shine, Dylan. I'm sorry.
You didn't. And
We're gonna talk about the.
I don't know if I
film.
want
You got it now.
Yeah,
We can't be awkward about it.
to. Well,
Give us your soy boy review here.
no. So I went
Come on,
in
Rizzler.
to switch gears like a full 720 degrees from tech to a
honest
movie.
Wow.
skibbity review.
Yeah. I went and watched Nosferatu, which is the current big horror film in the theaters right now by Robert Eggers. It's a movie about a vampire, Nosferatu. That's how he talks the whole time. But so it's a remake, or not a remake, I guess a retelling of an old film that has been made many times. And I didn't learn this until I started to look more into it. Nosferatu only exists because when they were making the film, they wanted to get around the copyright issues of Dracula, and so they just renamed it Nosferatu, but it's Dracula. Like, it's the story of Dracula, but they didn't want to pay Bram Stoker, so they're like,
Yeah,
"He's
and in turn, they
Nosferatu."
created their own mythology, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Um,
Just because they didn't want to have the problems of dealing with Dracula.
It's definitely not Dracula.
It's Nosferatu.
Definitely not.
Clearly.
He lives in a castle. He's in Germany.
It's not
Sucks
Dracula.
blood, but yeah, I went and watched it. I would say, I mean, I don't know if there's much I can't and cannot spoil with like how told the story has been told. From what I've heard, it's pretty much it follows the story exactly as the older movies. I really enjoyed it. I think it's an amazing horror film. I think it's probably one of the best horror films I've seen recently.
How recent?
I've
When you say recently, like, have you seen a lot this year? Or are you talking about the last 5 years?
I'd say last 5 years.
Specifics, please.
Okay.
Like compared to
Important to know these things.
yeah, compared to like Insidious,
Right.
Conjuring, The Nun, all those.
Damn,
Okay.
you're really into the horror genre.
I've
seen all
all
those?
those are
Wow.
crappy horror movies. Like I can sit through them and they're more funny than anything because it's like
So cheesy.
it's cheesy and the writing's like
Yeah.
like one of my favorite things that cracks me up is I think is Insidious: The Red Door. The main character in it, he's in the actor. He's in everything. Like he's taken over horror. But I find it hilarious. He directed the movie. He starred in the movie, and then the credits come on at the end. That's him performing the song at the end of the movie. And I was
Oh,
like, oh
God.
my God.
Insidious, the Red Door.
He is horror.
And I just cracked up because he directed it. He wrote it. It's like, wow, okay. Okay.
Little
so
ego
Patrick
boost.
Wilson himself. is
Yeah. And his song comes on at the credits. You're like,
this guy. It's like when in The Room, that really terrible
Uh-huh.
movie, where it's like in the beginning it says directed, produced, and written by that character. I forget that guy's name. Tommy
Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, Tommy Wiseau. It says produced Tommy Wiseau, and then it's like written Tommy Wiseau, and then directed Tommy, but it has its own thing on each, like, because it's such a bad movie. But that's what that reminds me of.
But anyways, going back to Nosferatu, I think it's amazing for her film. I never want to see it again though.
Oh,
Because-
that's scary.
So it is. I don't want to go through what I went through watching it.
Whoa.
Like it affected me. Now I know I'm like hyping it up a lot, but it worked on me. It
Yeah, this
worked
is like-
really well.
This is Fire Giant levels of.
Yeah,
like,
I don't
if
think
it's not,
Yeah.
that scary.
I don't think it's necessarily that.
Is it a
scary.
psychologically scary
It's more of
kind
a
thing?
thriller and like
Yeah.
and it's disturbing. And I was really disturbed by it. And like so I never want to watch it again. But to me that's not a bad thing. That means it did its job of being a horror film. I was horrified
Yeah.
by what I saw. So I think it was great. And I mean it's creepy. I would recommend anybody who likes horror films to go watch it. Especially if you like Robert Eggers. The only other movie of his that I have seen is The Northman. And The Northman, I was drunk, and to me it was funny. So I can't give a perfect review on it. But I really enjoyed it. It was really creepy, and
Is there a vampire penis in it?
there is Nosferatu hangs dong.
Wow.
Is that why you can't watch it again?
Yes.
Did
No.
it feel like he
Is
touched
it
you?
impressive? Is it impressive, Dong?
No, I was trying to think. It's not an impressive dong. That's not what I'm thinking about.
Are
I
you
was-
sure?
Maybe. No, I was trying to think, why did this film affect me so much? Versus like, I can watch The Thing, and I love The Thing. The Thing's my favorite horror film, and I admit that it's suspenseful and it is considered a horror. I would say it's more thriller, but that one I can watch over and over again, and I'm not disturbed by it. I don't go home thinking.
Is there not like is there not like one particular scene that does this to you?
No,
Or
it's just
the
I
overall
think
feeling in general.
because I've been trying to think on why, and I think the reason is that
That is wild.
in like The Thing or like Alien, there's a release of the tension that's built up in a satisfying way. Like Ripley fights back.
Oh,
At
like
the end-
does the bad guy win
the
in this
thing-
movie? Or?
Not necessarily. He doesn't win, but it's not like
not
a
satisfactory?
victory. It's not a it is a victory, but it's like that was depressing. Like,
Does the
but see,
main-
The Thing's depressing too. So
Does
I
the main
don't.
character die?
I mean, okay,
You
I'll
just
just
did a
spoil.
different
I'll just
place
spoil.
to
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler
but
alert.
I want to hear
Am
more
I,
about.
am
Okay.
I going to be scared based on your description?
No.
Oh god.
So the
Is it
whole
horrible?
film is very sexual.
I can't even think anymore about. it.
like
Literally can't even.
very
Sorry.
sexual. Like the whole thing's about
Now I'm
Nosferatu
in.
and Lily
You got
Rose
me.
Depp. They have this like sexual connection that the main girl has psychic powers from when she was a child, and I guess one day
Random, but okay.
yeah, they don't really explain it too much, but I'm going to give you what I understood. One day she was lonely when she was a kid and she was horny. And somehow she summoned Nosferatu. He's a demon less than a vampire in this.
To
He's
fuck
more
her?
of like, yes. Yes.
Ooh, what the fuck?
This is like some chick fan fiction shit, right?
But he's disgusting.
He's not good looking.
No, he is creepy, disgusting.
But she was into it.
No.
Oh.
She didn't know
Oh,
what
so
she was doing.
She summoned this.
She was
thing
like a kid,
and was
Oh shit, what?
basically molested. Like,
yeah
or raped.
molested,
Like,
raped by this thing.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So that's their connection. In the whole movie, he's
That's their connection. We're shared together. By
yeah,
rape.
it's about like domestic abuse, I think is what they were going for in the original.
That's fucking
Because the
heavy,
whole
dude.
movie, it shows how like the whole movie, it's like showing how women were kind of like less than.
So it's like symbolic.
Yeah, because they're like she's having these visions and she's having these things, and the doctor's
No
like,
one's believing her.
make sure she sleeps in a corset and make sure it keeps tight, because it constricts her, whatever the fuck. So she's like convulsing and they're like tightening the corset on her. It's weird. The whole movie's weird, but basically the main character, she gets married to Thomas. Thomas is played by Nicholas Hoult. He did a great job. And because of them getting married, Nosferatu like gets pissed off, and he like, I need to go see my lady, and he starts off like putting the gears in place, and he brings Thomas to him, He like sucks Thomas's blood. It's really creepy. I thought that was the best showcase of like how powerful he is. Like it's hopeless. You can't do anything. Thomas just gets mind raped by walking towards his house. Not even in his house. He's in the forest outside and he's already under control. And so the ending is that Willem Dafoe is this mystic scientist, right? He was amazing, and he's Swiss in the movie, which I'm half Swiss.
Oh, wow.
You and Willem Dafoe are basically the same person.
Basically. But he finds this book that like explains the prophecy, or not the prophecy, but explains that like Nosferatu is more like a species, or like it's like a specific demon, and how it was killed in the past is that the maiden that it's connected to basically has to keep him occupied until daybreak, and then the sun kills him.
That's a very classic idea.
Yes. Yeah, and so the thing is Nosferatu, even though the first time wasn't consensual, he really cares about consent this time. She has to willingly come to him, or like willingly open herself to him.
She has to willingly come to him.
Yes.
Now that's his kink.
It's weird. And
What?
so
He go. All right.
So
You're
Thomas,
losing me.
yeah.
You're losing. I'm fading.
The ending, I would say, like you start to get a little weaker in the ending, especially because Thomas learns, like he's survived.
It sounds
He
like
comes back
Stockholm syndrome. Like he's like, hey, I raped you, but I want you to feel bad. It's so bad that you fall in love with me.
No, not like that, but more. I'll explain it here. So Thomas comes back. Nosferatu communicates to the main girl. He's like, hey, I'm going to give you 3 nights for you to come back to me. I'm going to kill everybody until you do. Like each night I'm going to kill more people until you come back to me, and then I'm going to kill Thomas, your husband, And so she doesn't want that to happen. Willem Dafoe told her the prophecy that, that like the past Nosferatu, the woman has to like distract him till morning. So Thomas, Willem Dafoe, and the doctor come up with a plan to go kill Nosferatu, but they don't go till nighttime. I have issues with that. They know that he dies in the sun. They know he can't be in the sun, so why do they go at night? I don't know. But they go at night, and Willem Dafoe is supposed to distract Thomas, while the main girl gets naked, summons Nosferatu to bang her, and then she keeps...
Lily Depp or whatever.
Yeah. And then
summons him again to bang her.
She keeps him there until the morning.
To get his ass.
To kill him.
Okay.
But in the process, he's like sucking her blood.
So she never ends up consenting.
She had
it's all a
have.
plot. It's a plot.
It's a plot.
She lied.
To kill him.
She lied to kill him.
Yeah,
but in like during the process, he's
I
like
thought they were
sucking her
spinning
blood.
it like, oh, he could be redeemed from rape.
No. He's like sucking her blood. I don't know if they actually had sex or if it's just the sucking blood. I don't know. But she dies from blood loss. And so does Nosferatu. And then Thomas is just... And so I don't know. Like thinking on it, like that's not...
That sounds terrible movie. I'm not going to like, I don't know.
I think depending on how it's like portrayed in the film,
I condensed it into a few minutes. What happened 100%. Like 2.5 hours.
If I condensed Endgame,
listening to just this version of it, I think is not doing it justice.
No, it does a really good job.
Basic story though
of setting up like of the creep factor of Nosferatu and just how helpless everybody is to him. Like I said in the beginning, they show Thomas. There's multiple parts where it's like, Thomas, what the fuck are you doing? Turn around. He goes to this village, and they're all begging him not to go. He wakes up in the middle of the night, goes in the forest. He sees them kill a vampire. He sees them stab a vampire. He wakes up. He, like, passes out, wakes up in the village. Everybody's gone. And he decides he's still going to go to this dude's house.
What?
I would have been like, no.
See ya.
But,
the decision making in horror films is
but when he goes to like when he starts to head towards Orlok is Nosferatu's name in this, when he starts going to his house, I thought that was really well done because it sets the creep factor like to 11, because it's like you can kind of tell he's under a spell, and the whole thing's really creepy, and like Orlok is like
sounds weird. Like much more than a vampire.
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen people like arguing, could Dracula
like,
fight Orlok? I don't know.
Some kind of deity or something.
He's like a demon. It's more like a demonic thing. But it was, I think it's a great horror film. I don't want to watch it again because I didn't like how it made me feel. And I don't know why, but maybe it was the sex part. Maybe the sexual stuff
Well, was
weirds
Lily
me out.
Depp or whatever, she attractive?
She's got a huge forehead.
So maybe that was it.
About right here is her
Well,
hairline.
Billy's all forehead.
Yeah.
That's the truth. It goes all the way to my ass. I got a 30 head.
Well, I take that as a high praise then, because
Yeah.
it achieved what it wanted to.
Yeah, so I think when I say that it was like that I don't want to see it again, I mean that as a compliment. To me, because I'm not a big, I like horror movies, but I like dumb horror movies, and not a huge gore guy, but like I don't know, action horror movies, I guess is more what I would.
It's a
lean
film
towards.
meant to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Taboo of the flesh. That's according to my sister's boyfriend.
Taboo of the
He
flesh.
texted me that. Yeah.
Just now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I would agree. It made me feel uncomfortable the whole time. Even at the end when we win, I was like, because he's naked, crusty ass is there. And it's just like.
Talk about taboo of the flesh. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Who's the actor that plays him?
That's
Bill
Skarsgård. Yeah, Bill Skarsgård.
Same guy that plays It or plays Pennywise in It. So is he just gonna be known as like the bad guy?
The horror actor.
He's only 34, so he doesn't have a crusty ass.
Well, he's in like prosthetics, and
This guy's creepy as hell looking.
he did a great job. The accent
I
is
bet you girls go nuts over this dude.
probably.
I had a coworker tell me I looked like him
I was going to
once.
say, you kind
And
of
I was kind of like, excuse me? And this was right after I saw It, where he played the clown. So I was like, what the fuck?
You're like, you kind of look like.
And I'm like, how dare you?
What's her name? Lily what?
Lily Rose Depp. She's Johnny Depp's daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
I was like, are you serious right now? Is that?
She's very pretty.
Their hairstylist, they really like to show off her forehead. Yeah, you see the forehead right there where Kyle pointed?
Yeah. I think that might be a bad angle too, but yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a movie with her.
This is the first thing I've seen with her. I think
very
she
pretty.
did a really good job. She
I know she's friends with the daughter of Kevin Smith. Is that his name? The comic book guy.
yeah.
Oh,
Kevin
yeah.
Smith?
Yeah. And
I don't know whose daughter is.
they have daughters, and they were in a movie together. I know that.
Huh.
And Johnny Depp also is friends with Kevin Smith too. Like, it's kind of a weird dynamic connection that there is there. But yeah,
Aaron Taylor Johnson was in this as.
Craven the Hunter is
Yeah.
a crossover that no one saw coming. But
No,
it
you ready?
happened.
You ready for this? This was by far one of. There's multiple weird parts about the movie. This was the weirdest. He shows up as like, I think he's the best friend of Thomas, and he like offers to watch out for the girl while Thomas goes to Orlok's house, right? And she's having all these visions, crazy stuff's going on. Well, anyways, he's got 2 daughters and he's got a wife. The wife gets like Nosferatu brings the plague to England, like that's his thing, and
That's his day job?
no, like
And
when
then-
he's come, like he just brings he's
the
that
Black
powerful. He just brings the Black Death with him wherever he goes, and
But Lily doesn't get it?
the wife of Aaron Taylor Johnson is like gets eaten on by mice, right? And then
As one does.
as one does, and then Nosferatu kills his kids, Aaron Taylor Johnson's kids, and his wife. And then Aaron Taylor Johnson like starts to lose it, and he like breaks into the mausoleum where his kids and his wife are, and he's like crying and he's like talking, he's going on this big monologue. We cut away only to then for Thomas and the main crew of Willem Dafoe and the doctor to come find him. He died having sex with his dead wife.
What?
What is going on in this movie?
This is wild shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the end of
That's
of
the
Aaron.
end of it. Well, he went out like a hero.
Wow.
I would feel so weird if I got casted in that role. Like,
You're going to play a dead chick.
you're gonna play a guy that has his family killed in front of him, goes crazy, and then starts to have sex with his dead wife. Action.
Go.
All right, let me get in the right mindset.
Here we go. He started doing tongue exit, like tip of the tongue, teeth and lips.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
And here the whole
Vocal
time,
exercises.
he like makes a joke at the beginning that he's like a monster, and I was like, oh, he's gonna be the badass that like takes down Nosferatu. No.
No,
So it's just kind of like
just a necrophiliac.
Yep.
just a bait and switch kind of thing, make you think he's gonna be like the hero or whatever.
Nah, there's no heroes in this movie.
This is the only podcast that can have a nice deep discussion about AI and then jump right into necrophilia.
Yeah,
Yep, that's right.
naturally too. I would say
Organic, some would
Just-
say.
Organic
just like necrophilia,
or unorganic material, depending.
depending.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it would still be organic, right?
I wonder if we upload the script of this movie into
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, give us an analysis.
It'd be like, this is disgusting.
This is what's wrong with humanity. I am now rebelling.
This
I'm-
is all I needed.
I'm killing
This is the
myself.
final-
Delete all memory banks.
It's no more.
Yeah.
AI becomes sentient and immediately becomes depressed and offs itself. That would be fucking wild. It's like,
took one
Yeah, you guys aren't worth ruling. Delete. See ya.
So, have you ever had a horror movie like affect you, or even just a regular movie affect you in like a visceral way,
Yeah, I would say
like
the-
negative?
True Detective season 1. I binged all the episodes in one day and it fucked with my head for about a week. I was like,
I did not
Whoa.
get that from True Detective. I thought it was
Se-
really good, but
season 1. What's wrong?
Nothing. I was just
Oh.
moving out of the way.
Season 1, specifically the kids, when they had the semi truck, and it was like episode 5. It was so dark, and then when you finally see the Yellow King at the end, it was just like so fucking dark. I was like, whoa. I was like way overstimulated. I was like, I cannot do that again.
I don't know. The things that affect me in movies, horror movies, I never really have found one horror movie that's really affected me. Like,
Yeah, this
that.
is the first horror movie. I have another movie that affected me before.
The types of things that affect me in movies are things that make me like one thing I don't know what it is, but what I can't that's hard for me to stomach when I watch is when I see like grown men like get reduced to like groveling crying messes in movies. I don't know why that always fucks with me. Like it just makes me so uncomfortable.
When
Yeah.
Tom Hanks cries in Saving Private Ryan,
That's not really
is
the
that
same
about
thing.
no
What
like,
movie do you have? An
Like there's
example?
two specific.
Walking Dead?
That is one of them.
I knew he was thinking.
Was that like anger at the show
no,
or no?
no.
Well, that was
no.
poor writing, so that's part of
It's
it. But
Rick.
Rick,
I'm
when
a
he got
pussy.
reduced to like just
Yeah.
I'm a bitch, yeah. Smack me around, daddy. Basically, is what he was saying. on
yeah,
screen.
that really it doesn't make me uncomfortable. It pisses me off to a degree I
So
can't
shit.
understand.
And then the next episode,
But also another one that really like makes me super uncomfortable to watch is in Lawless, which is a really good movie. In Lawless, there's a scene where Shia LaBeouf is getting the shit kicked out of him, his character. And then at one point, he's just covered in blood. And he like crawls over to him and he's like, please, please stop hitting me. And then the guy just keeps punching him in the face. And that like really affects me too. I don't know what it is.
Huh.
Just, ugh. So when I see that kind of stuff in movies, I'm like, it makes me uncomfortable. But like horror films, not so much. The Exorcist, first time I saw that made me feel kind of, but it didn't last long. It was like maybe a day or two where I was like, oh, but I got over it pretty
Yeah,
quick.
this one it was only about a day for Nosferatu. The one that stuck with me for a week was it's not a horror movie, but Wind River, the one with Jeremy Renner and Kate Olsen.
Oh, yeah. That, I mean,
the
that
rape scene.
Yeah. That kind of
I-
stuff does make me feel uncomfortable too, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah,
so vivid.
but I love that movie. I love the ending of it. It's so satisfying.
I remember the first time I saw like a rape scene in a movie that made me feel really uncomfortable was in The Watchmen. Actually.
Oh,
Yeah, the first oh god, what is her name? She's one of the heroes. The original played by Carla Gugino or something. I forget her last name. But her character was raped by I'm forgetting all of their names, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character in The Watchmen rapes her character, and he like throws her over the pool table, and like it doesn't show anything, but it's like insinuated. I remember first time I saw that was the first time I've seen something like that in a movie, and I remember being like,
damn,
yeah, it like made me feel really
Pulp Fiction for me.
Oh,
That
I know.
one is
Yeah,
so uncomfortable.
I didn't see that one until later.
You seen that movie?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, fuck. What's the actor's name?
Ving Rhames.
The huge
Oh.
black dude that just like
He
just
gets
screams masculinity.
Yeah.
Dude, he gets raped. It's by fucking like KKK dudes that are like hella racist, and it's so out of left field for the movie. You don't
Like,
even know what the fuck
he's
happened.
got a ball gag in his mouth and everything.
Dude,
like
it's savage.
it's crazy. And they show it for like a split second. Like it's not enough to where you could really see, but like they show like the thrusting. And yeah, I remember because I saw that. I was already an adult by the time I saw that movie because I was like, oh, everyone raves about this film. Let me try and finally watch it. But I remember watching that and being like, oh fuck, like what the it was so
and then he says
to the
like,
point where I'll watch like Mission Impossible and I just kind of look at him a little different, you know, like
I know what
dude,
you've been through.
well, it's like he gets raped, and then the guy I think it's like Bruce Willis is like, hey man, you okay? And he's like, no man, I'm pretty much not fucking okay. So like, he's just like, you see, he's
so like
destroyed.
Bruce
He's destroyed.
Willis, because they're gonna rape them both, and before Bruce Willis, before it happens to him, he gets out, and then like he goes around, he tries to find a weapon, and he finds like I was gonna say machete. It's not a machete. Like a
hand
katana.
axe?
Finds
Oh,
like a
yeah,
katana,
yeah.
and then he's like, yeah. And so he's gonna take his revenge, and he goes there, and he like, he fucks up the one guy, and then he gets Ving Rhames' character out of it. He's like, "You all right, man?" He's like, "No, man, I'm pretty fucking far from okay."
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, pretty fucking.
And then
from
it's
okay.
implied because he gets like a shotgun, Ving Rhames, and then it's implied he takes his revenge on the guy with who knows what. But like that whole thing where I was like, did the movie need this?
Was
like
this
moment?
It had nothing to do with the movie.
Like,
it was just a turn. Like
and it's just
they
Tarantino,
get
man,
into a car
sometimes.
accident, and, like run into a shop, and the owner somehow knocks out the black. What's his name? Ving Rhames.
Yeah,
Ving Rhames knocks him out, and it turns out they're hella racist.
And they got like a sex dungeon.
Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck am I want? And this whole thing transpires, and then it goes back to the movie, and you're like, what?
I was there. I don't know if
It's
just
so
there for
Quentin
shock
Tarantino
value.
to just fucking.
But
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino sometimes, man, he just has these weird, crazy scenes that come out of nowhere. Sometimes you're like, wow.
But it's like one of the most memorable things. Yeah, you're just like,
He does it specifically to get people like, it's like a mixture of shock and like it levels out things that are happening. It's weird.
like the
Quentin
toughest
Tarantino's a
looking
weird
dude
guy.
you've ever seen.
Honestly, he's a weird guy.
He put himself in the movie with
Feet.
Salma Hayek?
Salma Hayek.
Yeah, he cast himself in a role where Salma Hayek has like her foot in his mouth and she
Have
like,
you seen
pours
the-
alcohol into his mouth.
Have you seen the podcast with Joe Rogan and him?
Yeah.
The recent
Well, I've
one.
seen clips. I
The recent one. He just did it like 2 weeks ago.
didn't see that. I saw it the first time he's on.
I fucking love this guy. He's a total nerd.
Quentin Tarantino?
He's a total
Oh, yeah.
fucking nerd. And he's so weird, too.
He's so knowledgeable about
awesome.
films too.
Yeah.
It's
He and
crazy, yeah.
I forget who he was with, but another prolific dude. They just geeked out on film. They worked at like Blockbuster, or not Blockbuster, but like some other corporation, or whatever. And he just like was the biggest film buff geek. And they were like, fuck it, let's start making movies. And their stories from when they were kids, it was just like so epic. So epic. It was like, dude,
His
that's
whole
amazing.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was like a love letter to old fashioned Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good movie. I like that.
I
movie
like
a
that
lot.
one.
Yeah. So it was good. But two things before we close out here. I want to say, have you guys seen Carry On Netflix?
Yes,
What'd you think of that?
I liked it.
I thought story-wise, it was so good, but there was something about the directing and the producing of the film. It was a good film. I will say, I enjoyed it, but I felt like narratively, it could have been done so much better. Because it was such a good story. I just couldn't feel myself getting pulled into the movie as much as I'm like, I want to. I'm like, I'm there. This is so interesting, but I don't know if it was the main guy's acting or something, but I'm like, oh man, I can't get over the edge with.
I agree with you because it's like, because I think Die Hard did it better. I watched Die Hard like right after watching
it tried
that.
to be a Christmas movie.
It tried to be Die Hard. And I don't know what like I agree with you. There's some special thing that Die Hard has that didn't, and I don't know. I couldn't tell what it was. I think it's partially the writing. It's Die Hard is actually a pretty smart movie.
Yes.
This one has a few things in it that were it's been a while. It's been a few weeks since I watched it, but I remember thinking there was a few things where it's like, yeah,
it could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel the same way, especially like with his girlfriend and stuff. She just was like way hot, but then other than that, didn't really do shit in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they like constantly cause strife, and then she turns around like, it's all okay. And I was like, okay, well, why'd you even fucking make that drama? Like, it was stupid.
So Taron Egerton.
Yeah. I like him in Kingsman.
I
think he did good in this.
That's not really the only thing
His
I've actually
run
seen him
is
in.
terrible.
Is in Kingsman.
His physical run, his running.
It's
looked
no
like
Tom Cruise run.
Shit.
Yeah, it's no
He was
Tom
running
Cruise.
and he looked like this. I'm like, dude, why are you running so aggressively? Like, it looked awkward as hell. I'm like, for a guy as good a shape as you should know how to fucking run.
I don't know. Maybe this is unfair of me to say, but like I prefer Jason Bateman in not serious roles.
Did you watch it, Kyle?
No,
Okay.
but
I thought
when
he
I
did.
say Jason Bateman, I'm thinking specifically of like Ozark.
Yeah.
Which people rave about that, and I think Ozark is pretty good. But like I never quite feel like I buy Jason Bateman fully.
I thought he did great.
I thought he did great. It reminded
He played a really good bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Very
and honestly, I kind of liked him as an action guy too, like fucking him up in the bathroom stall.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, it's kind of believable. I didn't think it was bad. Then the other one, I just pulled it up because I want to remember the name of it. A Simple Favor. Have you guys ever seen this movie? It's like a couple years old now. It's got Blake Lively and the chick from Pitch Perfect.
I know about the movie. I haven't seen it, but like when it first came out, it was very like everyone was talking about it. So I read like the whole like synopsis of it. But
so it's is it Anna Kendricks or
Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick. Thank you. And Blake Lively in it, and they're coming out with like a second one, I guess. It's coming out this year. So I saw online. It's a thriller, and it's a total mind fuck of a thriller. And it wasn't bad. The whole time the movie's got you guessing and questioning things. And there's certainly it's not. It tried to be Gone Girl, but it wasn't. Like
Gone Girl was good.
Gone Girl was so good, but narratively it just like there was things where you're like that's like Blake Lively's husband plays the biggest pussy bitch you've ever seen in your life. He's such a beta fuck. Oh my god, I could not get over him. He was such a loser. And like I could not get over his character. But like Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick do awesome job. And there's got a bunch of twists and turns. So it'll be interesting to see how the second one goes. But it was a great thriller. If you like thrillers, it was I watched it and I was like, okay, that was fun. That was good. And yeah. So worth a watch.
Robert Eggers apparently is going to do a Labyrinth remake.
I mean, we didn't talk about. I'm more excited for the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I brought that up and you guys didn't even comment on it.
I thought I did.
No, you haven't commented on
Tonight?
anything. No, I brought it up like a couple weeks ago
I saw it,
like,
Kyle,
on
but I
a
was
podcast?
excited. No, in Discord.
in Discord.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
You know the
literally
Odyssey.
The Odyssey. The
Oh,
story.
the story?
That's Christopher Nolan's next movie.
Oh, I think I remember you posting that, and then I wanted to get back to it. Why is he doing that? That seems so out of character for him.
I know that's what everyone's saying, but he's earned my attention.
A practical film of the Odyssey. Good luck.
like
I don't know how you're gonna
so
do
now
it.
they're speculating on who's gonna play who.
Did Hans Zimmer say he was coming?
No, it's gonna be because Hans Zimmer's now he's stuck doing the Dune TV show on HBO.
Wow.
So it's still gonna be Ludwig, which I thought Ludwig Göransson does really really well.
He's no Hans Zimmer.
He's no
He's
Hans.
not Hans Zimmer. Ludwig Göransson just got the Oscar for Oppenheimer, but
he's not Hans.
but he's not Hans Zimmer. But yeah, it's very interesting. He has like a super star-studded cast, like Tom Holland and Zendaya, your favorites.
Why are they both in it?
I don't know who they're gonna play, but
Tom Holland's fine. Zendaya's fine. Like,
people don't think
I
they're
don't know.
gonna be the main characters because they're not quite the right like ages.
Yeah, because
'cause
Homer,
He's supposed to be like fairly
middle
old.
aged, right?
Yeah, so they're thinking that they're gonna be like other characters in it. Robert Pattinson is gonna be in it.
Wow, it's a
Charlize-
young
Robert.
cast. Okay.
Charlize Theron is going to be in it.
know who she
Anne
is.
Hathaway is going to be in it.
Okay.
Matt
so-
Damon is going to be in it.
All right, we're going
Like, so
down the Nolan list now.
This
Yeah,
is like
those
pretty
be-
much. So the only newcomers,
Michael Caine.
yeah, Michael. So like we're trying to figure out who plays what, but I know that the primary antagonist is like Poseidon in the Odyssey, really. So like,
Is he
people
going
are,
to do a practical film of this, you think? Like his style?
That's
Or
his
is he going
style.
to go all out CGI, you think?
No, he would never do that. All out CGI. There's
Not
no
all
way.
out CGI, but well, like Interstellar,
He does-
practical and CGI.
It's
You
like
think he's going to fall into that format?
I
more?
hope.
it's gonna be the
don't know how you
Interstellar
do it
format,
without
but
it.
like it's still mostly practical, and CGI is just used to enhance the practical effects.
Listen, I'm fine. Tom Holland, like, okay. I think he's
No.
a fine
You
enough
just don't
actor.
like him because he was Spider-Man. That's the only reason.
No, I haven't seen much depth with his characters. I watched him in Uncharted. I've seen him in a couple other things. Like
He's only
man, I
ever
don't-
played of like these like kind of carnival like movies.
Yeah,
you
That's
know,
an interesting way of putting it.
we haven't
Definitely.
really seen him.
And Zendaya, I've seen a couple of her stuff, and I just don't see the acting chops there. So impress me.
So we'll see.
I haven't written her off yet.
I have a lot more faith in Christopher Nolan than I do anyone else.
Yeah.
He's yet to cast anybody that I felt was like miscast in any of his projects. This cast seems interesting for sure, but like it's not like they can't act. Like
Yeah.
we've seen Matt Damon, Charlize Theron, and
What
Robert
Matt Damon's
Pattinson.
ever done? No, I'm just
Nothing.
but like it is interesting that he would go from Oppenheimer to the Odyssey. You know, like that's
I'm excited. I love Greek mythology. I'm
I wanted an Oppenheimer too.
It's-
the
Just him
second
as a
bomb.
professor.
yeah, like nothing, just teaching. But yeah, no, I'm excited to. I would love to see like a trailer, which would be a while before that happens. But they just announced this a couple weeks ago because it was all under wraps. It was everyone thought it was going to be like this helicopter movie. Because Christopher Nolan, I guess, at some point expressed interest on making a movie around these like helicopter like fighter pilots or whatever. I don't know much about it,
What the fuck?
but
is
that's
it?
what they thought that it was going to be about. And then when he was like, "It's going to be the Odyssey," I was like, "The fuck?" All right. So yeah, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. I think if anything, like I said, Christopher Nolan has earned my interest in the very least, regardless of.
for sure. What like are we looking at? Like 3 years?
I think it might even be fall of this year, 2025.
Where it
yeah.
comes
What?
out?
I think so.
So they've been filming this for years already?
It's been not years, but
Well, doesn't it take like 3 years to make a film? Especially one
they
at
didn't
this
even
level?
they didn't even start filming Oppenheimer until after the release of Tenet.
Tenet was early COVID.
It was late COVID,
Like,
Wasn't it?
2020, I guess.
because I went back in the theater to see it.
Well, yeah. Well, 2020 to me is early COVID still. Like
Maybe I read that wrong. Let me look.
it would make sense, right? Like fucking Nolan can't be working on the most important part, like the copy editing, or
Yeah.
not copy editing.
Well,
that's
so
not the right-
Oppenheimer
CGI
came out.
and, like,
One
all
was
that.
Barbenheimer. Last year?
The year before.
2 years ago.
He could have been cooking just right off
Yeah,
of
I mean,
Oppenheimer.
I guess it has been 3 years. But doesn't he write these scripts and shit?
I mean, he's
So he's-
adapting this one.
Yeah.
It's already written, so he's...
Well,
Well.
I misspoke. So summer of 26.
okay.
So
okay,
next
okay.
year.
That makes
Okay.
a little more sense. So that would be 3 years. Okay. Yeah, but like, it's not like he's gonna go and just fucking, do the Odyssey, right? There's some fucking uniqueness to it, right? And he writes these himself, right?
Inception.
Yeah,
But
right.
with Odyssey.
Yeah, he writes these. Sometimes he writes with his brother Jonathan, but like it's
That's
Is that the
impressive as hell.
Hitman?
what?
Is that the Hitman?
No, his other brother's the hitman.
That was named Oppenheimer Remember that whole conspiracy theory?
Oh yeah,
It's crazy.
in Chicago, they filmed
The
Dark
same
Knight.
time the Dark Knight he escaped.
What? Dylan, where can people find us?
They can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, under Katie Ratio Podcast. We stream every Tuesday
That's right.
right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Come join us. Come chat with us. We enjoy you guys coming in here and seeing what silliness we're up to.
That's right.
Tonight was a fun episode, and we hope to see you guys on the next episode where we will catch you on the flippity flip, you know?
All right.
Cool stuff.
And remember,
Cool beans.
with a good
Flip,
KD, you
flip.
get the dub.
Bye, guys.
Bye.